Charming people know when it's time to quit. The word charming has several synonyms: delightful, pleasing, and agreeable, pleasant and likable, endearing. Who wouldn't like to have those adjectives thrown at them? As creatures that love to be accepted, most of us naturally want to be regarded as charming and likable. We surely don't want to be described as boring and disagreeable, repellent and unfriendly. Those are definitely the opposite of charming. Maybe you'd like to become more charming and pleasant. That's desirable for a number of reasons. It could be that you're trying to advance yourself in your career. Maybe you just want to meet some new friends and establish healthy relationships. Whatever your motivation, becoming charming is a skill that can be acquired. It's not like you have to be born with it. There are certain practices that instantly make you more appealing and pleasant to others. One thing you need to definitely understand is when it's time to end an interpersonal interaction. Know when the connection is over. Charming your audience, whether a group or individual, is oftentimes about verbal communication. It's hard to leave a person with the idea that you're pleasant, likable, and charismatic without saying anything. We reveal so much about ourselves when we engage in conversation. That means talking with others is required. Don't worry, even if you're not the greatest conversationalist, you can leave a room with everyone perceiving you as a charming person. You do that by asking open-ended questions. Be genuinely concerned about what people are saying. Use facial expressions and body language to mirror the emotions of your audience. Pay compliments and make positive statements. When you do this, you can establish a real connection with other people. The charming person understands that connection won't last forever. If you hang around too long, hemming and hawing, and you see your listener is tapping her toes and frequently glancing at her phone, you've overstayed your welcome. Look for body language and verbal cues that show a person's interest is starting to lag. Then close the conversation with a positive statement or compliment before you get to the awkward silence stage. Knowing when to bow out of a conversation is important. Wrap things up before you get to the point where your listener is fidgeting and obviously uninterested. You're going to be remembered as dull and overly chatty as opposed to likable and charming if you keep prattling on. You can't be charming without healthy motivation. Most everyone wants to be liked. Unless you're the world's biggest narcissist, it makes you feel good to be described as likable and pleasant. That's why a lot of people want to be more charming. They have a strong desire for people to view them in a positive way, and there's nothing wrong with that. We want others to smile when they see us, rather than viewing us as public enemy number one. A problem sometimes pops up when our motivation to be liked isn't healthy. We're talking about manipulation. If your desire is to persuade and influence the behaviors of others, your charm has a very negative level of motivation. It's a sociopathic behavior to win someone over in order to manipulate or take advantage of them. That's definitely not how you want to be remembered. Make sure you're not exploiting weakness. To be more charming, you have to understand that your focus should be on others. You have your own social needs, and that's fine. But the charming person works to appease others. You want to make people feel pleasant and happy. That means taking care of their feelings and generating positive emotions in them. That's the opposite of manipulation. When you manipulate someone, you try to find a psychological weakness you can take advantage of. In the back of your mind, you might think you're doing this for the right reason. You want someone to fall in love with you. You're trying to land a promotion at work. A relative came into a lot of money and you're hoping for a loan. Those are definitely not the right types of motivating factors for you to try and charm the pants off of someone. Speaking of which, turning on your charm for sexual reasons is the height of unhealthy persuasion. Ask yourself what your motivation is. Sometimes we unconsciously manipulate when we're just trying to make a connection. There's nothing wrong with wanting someone to like you. If you're trying to trick someone into portraying you in a certain way so you can achieve some end result, that's not healthy for you or for them. To keep this from happening, ask yourself what your motivation is when you attempt to be charming. If your desire is so that another person will see you as pleasant, likable, and enjoyable to be around, then your motivation is probably healthy. If what you're doing is trying to get an edge on someone or influence a person in some way, you're a manipulator that's going to be remembered as anything but charming. The M&M method for becoming more charming. Do you remember Prince Charming from the Cinderella fable? Prince Charming is a stock character who rescues princesses and other damsels in distress in fairy tales. In Cinderella, the chiseled and handsome Prince Charming saves her from a life of misery when he proposes to make her his wife. He fulfills the dreams of his beloved Cinderella, but he's only a tritagonist. That's a fancy way of saying he's the third most important character in the fairy tale. If he would have worked harder to become a little bit more like his namesake adjective, Prince Charming might have earned himself the lead role. Imagine being read the tale of Prince Charming as a child with Cinderella's presence as little more than a footnote. It's possible, it really is. No matter how poorly refined a person is, he can become more charming. Charisma and charm are skills which can be acquired. They aren't talents you have to be born with to possess. If Prince Charming knew what we're about to share with you, he no doubt would have traded places with Cinderella as a Walt Disney staple and enduring fairy tale character. Here's an easy but incredibly powerful way to start being more charming today. You instantly become more appealing and likable when you do certain things, and that starts with 2 M words. The M&M method for becoming more charming: mirror and maintain. You feel like charming people are genuinely glad to see you. There's nothing fake about them. Even if they're flipping a switch and creating false charisma, you don't feel that way about them. You like being in their presence. There's a magnetism that draws you to them. You would be hard-pressed to give it a voice or put it into detail. All you know is you have positive feelings and emotions when you interact with a charming person. One way these likable people form a deep connection with you emotionally is by maintaining eye contact. Maintain is the first word in the M&M charm-boosting method. They don't force it. When you're talking, they turn and lock eyes with you. Subconsciously, this triggers a feeling that you are the most important person in the conversation. They maintain that eye contact and aren't looking over your shoulder or checking out the score of a basketball game on television. This instantly makes them likable and appealing. Charismatic people mirror emotions. The second M&M word is mirror. The person who's losing charisma and charm will mirror your face with theirs. This is one of the earliest ways human beings communicated non-verbally. If you smile, they smile. They frown when you frown. When someone mirrors your emotions with their own and lets you see it in their face, a neurological connection is made. You feel that this person gets you. They understand what you're trying to communicate to them. A lot of people think that the charming woman is always smiling. That's not the case. There are times when a smile is the wrong facial expression to offer. You wouldn't laugh or smile if a person was telling you they just got fired from their dream job, would you? By the way, mirroring emotions and maintaining eye contact make you even more charming when you're genuine. You have to really be present in the interaction. Open your ears and listen. Ask a lot of questions. Then keep your eyes glued on the face of the person who's talking. Show you genuinely care about their situation by mirroring their emotions. That's a simple but proven process for making you more alluring and charming to just about anyone. 5 surefire ways to be more charming and likable. There are a lot of reasons you might want to be regarded as charming. Who doesn't like a compliment? It's sure nice to be known as likable and personable as opposed to grumpy and cantankerous. Whatever your motivation for wanting to become more charming, we've got 5 surefire ways that can help. Let's jump right in and get started, which is something you definitely don't want to do. 1. Get a lay of the land before you jump into a conversation. The way you communicate is going to say a lot about who you are. We're often judged about how we communicate and interact in conversations. Developing a reputation as a charming, likable person is going to require that you develop certain communication skills. That doesn't mean you should immediately insert yourself into an ongoing conversation without assessing the situation first. What looks and walks and quacks like a duck might not be a duck. You may think that after a few seconds you understand the dynamics of a group conversation. You may or may not be right. Look for body language clues. Give everyone else a chance to talk first. Get a good idea of the topic of conversation. Then and only then can you make a decision to get involved or quietly move on. 2. Start with an easy but confident smile. You can be a charming person without saying a word. You want your body language to be open. This makes you look accessible. It also makes you appear as less of a threat to the prehistoric survival instinct that's still at play in our modern minds. Another way to give off a likable persona is to share an easy smile. Be confident, but not overly so. You want others to feel pleasant and accepting when you smile, not intimidated or wary. 3. Use a question to introduce yourself. We use conversation to understand more about people. You can only get to know so much through observance alone. To broadcast your charming personality, you're going to have to talk with others. One way to do this effectively is to introduce yourself with a question. You, "Hi, I'm blank." Them, "Hey, I'm Sally." You, "It's nice to meet you, Sally. Didn't you open a restaurant recently?" The question can be anything as long as it relates to the person you're talking to. It doesn't have to be personal in nature either. You can ask about the weather or just about anything. Make sure your question is open-ended so they can't kill the conversation with a simple yes or no answer. 4. Repeat their name and use it. When you meet someone for the first time, repeat that person's name after they present it. Then use it a few times in conversation. People love hearing their name. It shows you're paying attention and that you care about them on some level. 5. Have someone else introduce you. This is a tried and true networking trick. You have someone else introduce you to a person you'd like to speak with. The person making the introduction should know a little bit about you and the person you're meeting. This increases the likelihood that the two of you will make a connection quickly because you have something in common. You don't have to be a natural-born charmer. You can develop this skill. It mostly has to do with making other people feel pleasant, happy, and engaged. These 5 charm boosters might seem simple, and they are. They're also powerful in their ability to help you develop a reputation as a charming and likable person. 3 ways to be more charming and what it actually means. Has anyone called you charming? If so, how did you feel after hearing that? It's definitely given as a compliment. Charming people make others feel pleasant and happy. That's what charm is all about, making sure the people around you are enjoying your presence. Since we're on the topic, what does the word charming really mean? Put simply, a charming person is pleasant and attractive in some way. These are appealing people, polite and likable. They're delightful to be around. You may even say they're agreeable and have a soft, calm magnetism. If you'd like to be referred to in these ways, we're here to help. Use the following 3 tips to be more pleasant and likable the next time you interact with someone. 1. Learn to be more self-deprecating. The charming person is very comfortable in his or her skin. They know who they are. They understand their abilities and inabilities and don't mind making fun of themselves. That's what it means to be self-deprecating. Self-deprecation means confidence. The charming person has a quiet self-confidence that allows him to laugh at his mistakes. He readily relates stories that show he isn't overly impressed with himself. That makes him more likable. People can relate because they're imperfect as well. When you're a source of good-natured laughter for others, you're considered more charming. 2. Charming people ask lots of questions. Be careful how you ask questions. People love to talk about themselves. What they don't like to talk about are situations where they failed or made mistakes. While this self-deprecating behavior might make you appear more charming, others aren't always as comfortable talking about their downfalls or failures. Instead, ask open-ended questions that require more than a yes or no answer. Lace your questions with compliments. You could say, "Where did you get that shirt? That color looks really good on you." Then listen aggressively and respond positively. 3. Improve your memory. Charming people are great with names. They diligently work to assign some physical characteristic or character trait to a person's name when they meet them. You might tell yourself that Nancy is the red-headed coworker of your best friend Thomas. Find some connection mentally that makes Nancy's name pop up immediately the next time you see her. Do the same thing with experiences and conversations. Nancy will definitely think you're charming if you bring up something she talked about 2 months ago, the last time you chatted with her. If you look at those 3 tips for becoming more charming, you'll see they're all about making the other person feel pleasant. You want to charm them, make them feel like they're having a good time. Being charming is a skill that can be learned. It just requires focusing on the needs of the people you interact with, rather than your own.